Okay, so we focusing on delivery. Okay, so really ensuring that you hold, when you price your job, so Russ let the cat out the bag, we work at 27% margin, okay, with our clients. That's what we recommend. So if you got a pricing strategy around that and you've got a certain amount of margin in the job, then it's about holding as much of that in there as possible, because how often does a job go exactly according to plan? That many times. That's never going to happen. So you're going to lose money, and obviously what Russ covered is some of the key areas where you're going to see money sort of leak out. So what's delivery? Quite simply, well, how would you define delivery? Getting the job done on time and on budget with systematic consistency. So for those of you that do want to scale and do more work, if you've got the margin thing covered, and you can get more work because it's out there, and you can deliver it, then yeah, it's well worth scaling. So here's a great analogy. You know, your profit's like the water in the bucket, and there's always going to be holes. It's always just about plugging the biggest ones. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to do next as an exercise. So hopefully Russ's presentations triggered a few things for you. I want you to really think about what are the biggest inefficiencies in your business. Okay, so if you grab a clean sheet of paper, and I'll help you along with this, think about, based on what Russ was talking about, you know, whether you do or don't have a system like that. You know, once again, I don't have a vested interest in promoting any products. I do not promote, after 9 years and working with hundreds of builders and contractors, I don't promote any estimating software. Because like Russ is saying, there's no one fits all solution. Okay, there's not one panacea that's going to provide everyone a solution. Plus, I'm an empiricist, so I base my recommendations on anything based on what feedback I get from the ground. So if I have one guy say to me, hey, this is fantastic, best thing since sliced bread, I'm not going to recommend it. When 3 or 4 dozen guys across the eastern seaboard all say to me, this thing's brilliant, I'm using it, this is why it's good, and it all rings, they're all telling me the same thing, then I will say to a client of mine, have a look at this. Okay, so with what Russ was talking about in terms of eliminating inefficiencies and communicating well with clients and making sure you don't miss things, I'd strongly recommend something along the lines of a software-based program. But what I want you guys to do now is think about, when you're running a job, what are all the things that are causing you to either lose time or money? So materials wastage, time wastage. And it's not only on a job. The biggest inefficiency, which I already mentioned, is what's the biggest inefficiency in the industry? I mentioned it briefly before. Quoting. So most guys running around wasting time. You don't get paid for quotes, most of you. Spending hours and hours and hours on quotes and quoting jobs they're never going to get in the first place. So that's an inefficiency, because that time, there's opportunity cost there. That time could be spent elsewhere. So we're looking at time wastage and materials or other wastage. If you can just, off the top of your head now, 3 minutes, just list as many as you can. It could even be your lack of processes or systems in the office, which causes your administration to be bottlenecked, and then you end up spending 2 hours looking for a piece of information on a job, like a document. That's an inefficiency, because you've wasted time, which could be fixed quite quickly. Yeah, obviously, using a workflow management system like software will eliminate a whole range of inefficiencies, but so will using the right estimating software for you. Will also help speed up your quoting process. Once you've got them, and once you've listed as many as you can think of, I want you to quantify that inefficiency. So one of them might be your time management. Is it fair to say that maybe you're wasting 4 hours a week by not having a to-do list, not planning and preparing as well as you should or could? Okay, that's an inefficiency. All right. What are you worth an hour? $60, $80, $100, and then multiply that by 4. That's the inefficiency there. That's not even looking at the opportunity cost, because you could spend that time doing something that's dollar productive. Okay, so just trying to quantify it, because not all this stuff is directly related to dollars and cents. So that's how you'd quantify the time. If you're thinking about, using estimating software, how many hours would that save you? Or how many hours are you wasting, doing it by hand or an Excel spreadsheet now? 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, what's that worth? And if you've got 8 or 9 inefficiencies and you've worked out the dollar value, then add them all up. The dollar value for the week for each one, and then get a total for the week, and then times that by 48 to get an annual total. Who doesn't mind sharing a few examples? Who's got a few inefficiencies to share? Yep.
Travelling in between jobs.
Travelling in between jobs, yep.
Different sites.
Yeah.
Time management. Really.
Time management, okay, great. That's 2 good examples. Anyone else? Who's got another 2?
Taking phone calls through the day, so many phone calls.
Yeah.
When you can maybe divert them to your message bank and then you spend half an hour returning those calls instead of spending.
Yeah, that's the reactive thing, and that's the 19 minutes you'll lose, especially if you're concentrating on doing a quote or something. And that's why, you think about it, a lot of people think, you can't let a call go to message bank. But when you phone someone and goes to message bank, do you get pissed off? You don't. You think, well, they're busy, right? Maybe they're in a meeting, they're doing something, and what pisses people off is you don't get back to them. All right. But so the intelligent thing to do is block out half an hour chunks of time during the course of the day to check your message bank. And if you've got 10 messages on there, there's probably 3 or 2 that are urgent. You can respond to those, and then the others maybe they only need an answer by Friday, or you can email them later. So that's the way this is where planning your weeks and blocking out time becomes crucial. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. It's another obvious example. Anyone think of something that jumps out at them?
Financial reporting, pretty much what Russ was talking about.
Yep. So how do you quantify that one?
Hours spent going through paperwork and quotes and stuff like to work out where you're sitting at with the job.
Okay, yeah. So is that taking you a long time to do that? You could be doing it more efficiently, or?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes even getting someone else to do it, right? So we'll look at solutions in a sec. It could be a system solution, like using some software, or even just writing a checklist. And I'll show you some unique ones just now as well. So how guys have got around something. And what happens is we're creatures of habit, right? So you're doing things and you're just used to doing them. And if you don't stop and look at it and think, well, is there a better way? Is there a smarter way of doing this? You're just going to keep doing the same thing. So this is what I'm getting you to do now. Think about, where am I maybe doing something that's either archaic or there's a better solution out there. Once again, when you've got a business development plan, so projects you want to work on your business, then you're forced to look at ways to find time, to be more creative with how you can free up time. And that's where, for guys that are supervising on the tools, that's the first area. Bang, 40 hours a week, just get off there and start developing your systems. Because ultimately, if you want to be very successful with your business, you're going to spend, and this is once again, look at anyone who is, that 90% of your time is going to be on business development, 90. But you can't start at 90, you got to start at 10 and then slowly claw your way up. Okay, so we'll leave it there, guys. When you just tally up all the numbers, get a total figure for the week, then times that by 48 and get your annual figure. And that's what your inefficiencies are conservatively costing you. And so why is it important to quantify it? Because it makes it a little bit more apparent. The truth will set you free. Who's got anything above 50 grand? Okay, I've done this, dozens of times. There's, usually around the 50 grand for a sole trader, right up to $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 if you're bigger, okay, in inefficiencies. So this is where you can really, based on that list, obviously look at the top 3, look at the biggest inefficiencies, because those are the biggest holes in your bucket, and then target those first, plug those holes. So the next question is how, right? How do you plug them? What's the solution? So does anyone here, looking at your list, not see how you might be able to resolve some of those inefficiencies? No one? No one? It's actually not that difficult, right? It's not that challenging. And once you look, so if you've got a big inefficiency, it really does, if you're all familiar with KPIs, key performance indicators, okay, make it a key performance indicator. Okay, so measure performance in that particular area, which could be, maybe doing 10 quotes for one job, and then you use a sales process to bring it down to your conversion rates 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. Then you want to measure that and make sure that that process gets followed to the letter every single time, because it's going to save you, it's going to bring in a lot more money, and it's saving you a lot of time and effort. So just basic checklists, okay? And this gives meaning to your KPIs. Like I've had guys that have gone out and systemized. I've had one guy in particular, his wife was in the corporate world and she taught all about systems. It was him and his partner, and she was quite an assertive woman. She was shoving it down their throats. So you got to have this, you got to have systems. And she had all these manuals and she was throwing these at them and saying, use the stuff, But it didn't mean anything, because there was no measurement associated. It was all just paperwork. Absolutely meaningless. So this is what gives meaning to it. You can say, well, we're losing, $2,000 a week here, potentially, because of wasted time. Let's nip that in the butt, and then keep using it. Hold it there, Material ordering system. If that's an inefficiency, maybe there's mistakes with your material ordering or planning. What's it costing you? You can quite accurately work that out. Site diary. Not using it consistently. What's that costing you? Quality assurance checklists. We've got a 147-point quality assurance checklist on our website that we've got for one of our clients. So something that you can break it up into little checklists for each section of your jobs. Weekly toolbox meetings, really basic stuff. Proper use of scheduling tools, as Russ mentioned, huge. And we had a guy who did fit outs, and he had a workshop as well with guys, and they were always 4 minutes late, 3 minutes late, leaving 4 minutes early, 7 minutes early, and he couldn't figure it out until he put a Bundy clock in, and bang, problem solved. And I've had guys do that on site as well. So just a simple system solution. Nowadays you can get like tags, I think, on site. And is anyone using those? Yeah, you get within a certain radius and it activates. So you know what time the guys arrive, what time they leave. And as soon as the guy pull one of those in, the guys would arrive on the second and leave on the second. But it's like if you guys taking extra time on Smoko. Now, if it's an extra 10, 15 minutes and there's 5 of them, and what are they worth an hour, and they're doing that every day, how much is that costing you a week? Okay, so you might have a long list. You can't tackle them all. Just take your top 3. Top 3, hit those, then go to the next 3. And then keep working through your list of inefficiencies, because this is all about where's it going to benefit you. If you put the stuff in place, where's the result going to be seen? Profit, man, net profit, which is what it's all about, right? Profit, cash flow. So just locking in your lessons from this section before we get into the very sexy section of marketing coming up next. Number 1 lesson here, what's the one thing for you in your business? And then also, how much money is that thing going to save or make you in the next 12 months? So it could be using some sort of project management software, or just tackling your top 3 inefficiencies.